What's up guys, it's Caitlin B and welcome to or welcome back to my channel. I am so excited for this video because oh my gosh, it just brought me right back to the OG YouTube days with the tag videos. I'm so happy. But I had to get in on this because I've been seeing my booktube friends do this tag video and I'm like, say less, sign me up. It is exactly what it sounds like. So I'm gonna be giving you guys book recommendations based on the list of questions. There's actually 20 questions because my girl Larry Reads Larissa, she added 5 of her own. So I'm gonna do her version because we love more questions and we love Larissa. And I am gonna do my best to do what Larissa did here and not repeat books because I definitely could give the same recommendation for so many of these questions, but I can't promise. But before I get into the questions, I just want to thank IT Cosmetics for partnering with me on this video. You guys, they have changed my skin. My skin has not looked this good since I don't know when. For some reason, I've only used their makeup over the years and have loved it, but I didn't even know that their skincare was so fire. But literally every IT Cosmetics formula, whether it be skincare or makeup, is developed with skin-loving ingredients, and I've just been feeling so good and confident with my skin. So I'm gonna show you my favorites that I've been using. I only have 4 products. It's very, very simple. Honestly, this has got to be my holy grail. This is the Confidence in Your Beauty Sleep Serum. You guys, this serum, pure magic. I'm also in my late 20s, so I take my skincare very seriously. Okay, if a product just isn't working for me or working at all, it is not worth my time. It's gotta go. I'm getting very, very selective about my skincare these days. So I've been using this serum every night for the past about 2 months, and this is just how much I've used. So I feel like it's gonna last me a while. The texture is so interesting. I was expecting it to be a normal serum, but it's honestly thick like a honey. This is a triple antioxidant serum that you wear overnight, and it combines both brightening and powerful anti-aging skincare benefits in one. I wake up to glowing skin, and it also has up to 24 hours of hydration. And over time, this will strengthen your skin's moisture barrier, reduce fine lines and wrinkles, and just help get your skin brighter, smoother, and plumper. We love all of those things. No filler ingredients. This is the real deal, you guys. If you're gonna use a serum, might as well be this one because it actually works. It is so, so good. I've never used a serum like this before, and honestly, I probably will branch out after this because this has been doing it for me. And then I love using that in conjunction with the IT Cosmetics Confidence in Your Beauty Sleep Cream. I only use this at night, but this is an amazing moisturizer. I love it. The smell is also so luxurious. I feel like I'm at a spa, but it really helps to enhance the efficacy of the serum. Really hydrates my skin overnight when your skin is in that peak cell repair. And I love that this doesn't transfer onto my pillow. One of the best I've used, and a little bit goes a long way. Again, I've been using this for about 2 months and I literally have so much left. So love that for me. And in the morning, I will use their daytime version of this moisturizer. Again, a little bit goes a long way, and they reformulated it. So now it delivers 2 times more potent active ingredients and hydration than the original formula. It has the most amazing like silky cream texture to this, so it works really, really well under makeup as well. So those have been new products for me over the past couple of months. Been freaking loving their skincare, but obviously, you know, I had to go back to my roots with the IT Cosmetics CC cream. This is their full coverage foundation. If you haven't tried this yet, holy crap, it is so good. It's a very full coverage foundation, so hydrating, anti-aging. It has SPF 50, which is absolutely insane. And I will only apply this with their brush. So this is the Heavenly Luxe Complexion Perfection number 7 brush. I like to apply it to the back of my hand and then kind of stipple it with this brush and then work it on circular motions on my face. That way I use so much less product. I will just work this in circular motions. It helps with redness, and even if you have like large pores or uneven skin tone, dark circles, this foundation should cover it. Honestly, the most amazing finish. It's so glowy, buildable, it's blendable, it looks so good, it lasts all day. And I just love that it's good for my skin too, so I can feel good about wearing makeup, you know what I mean? Like, not to toot my own horn, but I'm glowing. I actually have one more product. If you are someone who's like, I am not good at applying eyeshadow, I just don't get it, it takes too long, it's not for me, then I think you're really gonna like this one because it's genuinely foolproof. There's so many fun shades. These are waterproof shadows. Even if I apply it on the back of my hand, like, it is not coming off, but it glides on like an absolute dream, and it doesn't tug on my lids. They have so many great shades, a lot of wearable neutral ones. But that is it from IT Cosmetics. I just wanted to show you guys a couple of my favorites that I've been loving over the past couple of months. So you can shop my faves down below. And again, thank you so much to IT Cosmetics for partnering with me on this video. And now let's get back to my book recommendations. The first question is a book you tell people is your favorite. This one by far, easiest question, Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. I absolutely freaking love this book because Noah Riley is my book husband. Okay, he's the best book boyfriend I have ever read, and I will die on this hill. You can't beat him. You literally can't. It's by far the #1 book that you guys end up reading because of me, and you DM me being like, this changed my life. I don't know how I'm gonna be the same. It gave me the biggest book hangover, and I'm like, girl, I know. I'm still not over it. Read it. It's amazing. The next question is a book that is your guilty pleasure, and honestly, there could be so many books for this. I don't really know what constitutes as a guilty pleasure because I actually don't reread books, so it's not like I'm like going back to these books, but there are some books that I will go back to my highlights quite a bit, so I guess I would consider that a guilty pleasure. And for one of those that first came to mind is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace, and this initially was on Kindle Limited, but then they took it off, so obviously I had to get the paper back. But honestly, love that for me because then I can just like go through this book as often as I want. Nate Hawkins himself is a guilty pleasure. I'm not normally into sports romances, but there's still so much more to the story. A college ice skater and he's a hockey player, so we kind of get like a mix of that, even though it's more so to do with ice skating. But this one I just ate up, okay? And Nate Hawkins can... I'm not gonna finish that sentence. Anyway, he's my guilty pleasure, okay? A book that everyone loved but you didn't. Okay, this one, definitely my unpopular opinions, okay? I have two for this one that come to mind. First one is Beach Read by Emily Henry, and then the second one is The Idea of You by Robin E. Lee. I feel like more people liked Beach Read than they did The Idea of You, but I definitely kept hearing about this on Book Talk. Honestly, both of them. My problem with Beach Read is I was just so bored, and I read it right after I read so many fire, like 5-star reads, that this one just fell so flat for me. I never wanted to pick it up. It just kept dragging and dragging for me. I was not into either of these characters. I did not buy into their chemistry at all. Like there was zero chemistry, and I thought they just didn't like dive into the storylines that I wanted to more. It was just surfacey to me, and I just didn't like any of these characters. Like they just were so boring to me. So goodbye, Beach Read. The Idea of You, I went into it thinking, first I thought it was gonna be a thriller. That's not going into books blindly. However, this one was about a girl who was taking her daughter to basically like a One Direction concert. I can't even tell you the band name because I've happily blocked this book out of my memory. She's at the meet and greet, basically the equivalent of Harry Styles likes what he sees with the mom, and they end up, you know, having a rendezvous. It was just not for me, and I just happily will never think about this book ever again. Next question is a book you read the fastest. Honestly, any Colleen Hoover book, I just have to say it because they were the books that just really got me into reading. She was the first author that I found myself like devouring time and time again. Honestly, all of her books are just the perfect gateway into reading, at least for me. So I would have to say for sure Verity was definitely one of those. I just remember that was actually the very first book that I devoured within a day, like a couple hours, and I was like, oh my God, is this what reading is all about? A book that deserves more hype, 100% Brightside by Kim Holden. I will die on this hill. I am so obsessed with this book, and I feel like it's not talked about enough, and we need to hype this up more because it is so good. I loved it so much that I chose it as my book club pick for January 2022, I think. It's one of those books that I just think about time and time again, like the characters, the story in general. Like Kate, the main character in this, is probably my favorite character of all time that I've ever read about. She's just so happy. It just reminded me, this book, to, you know, not take little things for granted, to just be excited about the little things in life. Like she's so happy to see sunset every single day. She calls it like showtime. Also, her best friend Gus in this is like one of my favorites as well. He's just the sweetest. Their relationship, I just love everything about them. The only thing is I do think this is a slow burn, so I feel like that can deter some people. So don't read this if you're in like a reading slump trying to get into something really fast, because it was pretty slow for me at first. It took me like 100 pages, but it's one of those books that you don't really know what it's gonna be about. You're kind of just like taken along for the ride. It's more character based than plot, but then once you get to what this book is about, you will fly through it, and it hits you so hard. Like I cannot stop thinking about this book. I cried so hard. But also she wrote 2 more books after this. So the second book is Gus, and then there's also a book for Franco, this other character in here. Absolute must read. A book that is becoming a movie or TV show. It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. You guys already know. Now this like was announced in 2022, I believe, that they were adapting it for a movie, and obviously this happens so many times with books that it gets picked up, but you don't really know if they're gonna go anywhere with it. So I'm not sure, because I've been looking like constantly, you guys, to see if there's any updates in this, but I haven't seen any updates. But I'm really hoping they still are making this into a movie, because I just love these characters so much. I think Piper and Brendan are just chef's kiss. They're one of my favorite couples ever. Number 7, a book that you reread the most. I actually don't reread my books, so I actually don't have an answer for this one, because I really only started getting into reading in 2020. So because I only started a couple years ago, there's so many books that I have never reread a book. So rereading highlights, that's a different story. A book from a genre you don't typically read. Okay, well, I normally read romance and thrillers. That is my jam. So anything out of that I would consider something I don't typically read. So I'm gonna have to go with The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I read this a couple years ago for my book club, and it honestly stuck with me, and I didn't expect to love this book as much as I did. It definitely was a very slow burn for me. It's not something I would recommend to everybody, but I really, really liked this book. It was just something, like the story was so different. It's about a girl who basically makes a deal with the devil. She hates her life. Like she doesn't want to marry this guy, so she makes a deal with him. He's got some stipulations. Every time she meets someone, they will forget her as soon as she leaves the room, or is like out of sight. Holy shit, it was just crazy. It's like you can't get a job because like they wouldn't even remember hiring you 2 seconds ago. Can't really make any friends because they won't remember her, and she can't have a relationship because again, nobody will remember her. So honestly, this would also be a great one that would be into a movie. I think this would be so interesting to watch. A book that deserves all the hype it gets, the Mindfuck series, you guys, by St. Abby. I am so obsessed with this book, and I feel like if you're not into the book talk world or booktube, then maybe you actually haven't heard of this book, so you're like, where is all this hype coming from? But definitely on TikTok is where everybody is talking about this book, and it 100% deserves it. This is one of the books that I also recommend to people when they're just starting to get into reading, or if they want something that they can just like binge, get out of a reading slump. Like the Mindfuck series, I recommend time and time again. So absolutely read it. You can buy it in like one big book, but if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can get them in 5 separate novellas. They all end on cliffhangers, so you will be running to read the next one. I'm pretty sure they're like 100 pages or less for each novella, so it's really quick to fly through. But the story itself is amazing. It's about a girl, Lana Myers, we love her, who is a serial killer, okay, but we are on her side, and she ends up dating the lead FBI agent who's actually trying to find the serial killer in this town and has no idea that he's actually dating her. Is he ever gonna find out? Like, there's just so many things. You're so stressed about reading this book, but it is so good. And once you find out like what her mission is, why she's doing this, you're like, holy crap, it's immaculate. Number 10 is a book you usually recommend when you give a recommendation. So obviously I could give so many, like anything from this video. So it kind of depends like who is asking me this question. I take my recs very seriously. So I definitely think about, you know, is this someone who's just getting into reading for the first time? Is this someone who wants a thriller? And it's honestly one of my most asked questions, which is why I created an entire reading guide, which you can get down in my description box below or anytime in my stand store. But it's the ultimate reading guide. So if you're just getting into reading, you just need some good book recs, or you want some starter packs and don't know what book to read next, then I highly recommend this guide because I have listed all of my starter packs. So if you like thrillers, if you like Colleen Hoover books, if you want something spicy, I have like an exact order of books that I recommend starting with, from like least spicy to most spicy. If you like this, read this next. And it's just like having me in your back pocket with all of my best book recommendations. So I will link that down in the description box below if you want to check it out at any time. But it's so hard for me to answer this question because it definitely depends on like what your kind of style is, what you're looking for. But one book I definitely recommend time and time again, besides Say You Swear, besides Mindfuck, would be A Not So Meet Cute by Megan Quinn. I love her writing so much. This is one of the only books that I've actually found myself laughing out loud to. I don't normally do that. I ate up the banter between Lottie and Huxley. I love them so much. The Lamaze class scene sticks with me to this day. It's so funny. So if you're looking for something that's just like super easy to read, bingeable, just a great rom-com, then I highly recommend reading that. I mean, you cannot go wrong. A book that has my favorite characters. This one was so hard for me because it's like my book boyfriend is in one, my favorite main character is in one, but I try to find one that I like most of the characters in, and I would definitely have to say Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. Obviously, I don't like Tina, okay? Let's not get it twisted. I just loved Naomi so much. She's just such an amazing person. I love her so much. I want to be her friend. And Knox as well, like he's so grumpy and doesn't want to like her, but of course he does. And he does literally anything he can to help her. And yes, I am reading the sequel right now. A book you wish you could live in. Okay, honestly, but I just want to hop into the ACOTAR universe. I don't exactly know what the universe is called yet. Like, would it be in a court? I don't know. I'm literally only just starting the second book, so don't come for me. I know this is like too early to recommend. I probably wouldn't make it out alive if I lived in this universe. However, I just want to know what it's like. It's obviously magical. I'd obviously want some powers. A book you thought you would hate but ended up loving. Ooh, I love this question. Okay, Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. I didn't expect to hate it, so I don't want to there really wasn't a book that I went into expecting to hate because I don't know why I would read a book that I would think I was gonna hate, but I just didn't expect to love it as much as I did. I felt like I never really read dark romances, and I think you would consider this a dark romance. At least this is the darkest that I've ever read, besides like some Penelope Douglas books, but I just didn't expect to like have this stick with me as much as it did, and I loved the writing in this. I thought it was so amazing. So excited to read more from her. I've only read Lotus, which I also really love by her. Number 14 is a book that made you cry. Too many, honestly. Okay, I've been choke sobbing more than I care to admit, but one that definitely sticks out to me is A Thousand Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole, because I cried in the first chapter of this, the grandma, okay? Near the ending of the book, obviously the ending of the book, cried, and then I thought it was over, but then no, the epilogue just sent me into a spiral. I was so unwell. But another one that also just comes to mind is Exodus, which is the second book in the Ravenhood series. Once it hit the 50% mark, you know, if you know, you know. I actually woke Alex up in the middle of the night by choke sobbing because I was shaking the bed from my sobbing so hard that he thought something like deeply horrible happened. I don't think I'll ever recover from that book, so that's why I haven't read the third book yet, because I'm just scarred. A book you wish you could read for the first time. Literally every book on this list, I'm not even kidding. There's so many good books in this. Okay, don't say you swear for every single book, Caitlin. Okay, I'm gonna switch it up and say a thriller, because there's so many thrillers that I feel like when you read it for the first time, like you just can't really read. Not that I reread any books anyway, but there's just something about a thriller, and when you're new to the genre especially, and you're not expecting these kind of plot twists and storylines, like everything just shook me to the core in 2020 when I was reading so many thrillers. That was pretty much the only genre that I read. One that comes to mind that's not Verity is The Silent Patient by Alex McLadies, but I just remember being so shook by that plot twist. I was like, holy shit, this is insane. And another one I felt that way was The Last Mrs. Parrish by Liv Constantine. I just did not expect it. So if you haven't read any of those books, please just go into it blindly. Okay, trust me, and let it take you for a ride. A book that could cure a reading slump. Okay, any Frida McFadden book I swear by. I'm pretty sure all of her books are on Kindle Unlimited. That's where I read them, and she is a thriller writer. They're really short chapters, really short books, which I feel like is key to getting out of a reading slump. The Housemaid is so good, but if you have read The Last Mrs. Parrish, then don't read this. Well, actually you can read this one, but it is the same twist, but she just has the craziest twist. Apparently her book Never Lie, I think, is everyone's favorite, so I haven't read that one yet, but I'm going to next. Yeah, I just feel like they're so fun to get out of a reading slump. They just take you on a ride. You can devour them. A book you think everyone should read. I actually just lent this out to a friend, so I don't have the physical copy, but this is Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. This is a nonfiction book. Who am I? I know. This is one that I read in December that has just really stuck with me, and I feel like everyone in their 20s specifically should read this book, but even if you're not, I feel like you would still really enjoy this book. It's just a collection of essays from her early 20s to turning 30. Her writing is just so relatable. It's funny. Like, there were so many times that I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot this happened. I forgot this happened. It just brought me back so many memories from college. Just loved it so much. Easy 5-star for me. A book you think would make an amazing movie, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue for sure. A Not So Meet Cute for a rom-com. But if I had to switch it up, I would say Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which is actually a book that I really enjoyed, and I didn't think I was gonna love it as much as I did. It was really slow for me for a while. I don't think everyone would like this book. It's definitely not one to read if you are in a slump. But the whole time I was reading it, it was one of those that I was like, okay, I was picturing it in my mind as a movie. A book you wish everyone would give a shot, even if it's out of their comfort zone. I wanted to say everything on this list, but also another book I haven't mentioned yet is The House in the Cerulean Sea, and I just feel like this is something that is definitely out of my comfort zone. People voted for this in my book club, so I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. It's just the sweetest, most wholesome book. It's described as like a hug, and it absolutely is a comforting hug. It's about these like 6 magical kids in an orphanage, and they're exiled into this island, and this guy Linus is assigned this task by upper management to go to this island and write a report on like how dangerous these kids actually are. I loved these characters. I loved the kids in this. They were so freaking sweet and wholesome and adorable, and it was just something that I didn't expect to love so much. And the last question is a book you'll never forget. Credence? Just kidding. But I won't forget that. I'm gonna have to say Darling Venom. Okay, we just read this book for my book club, and it was so split. People either, I would say most people were a 3-star, but there were even some 2-star people. I was very offended. But I love this book so much, and it's just something that has really stuck with me. But it was an easy 5-star for me. Wrecked me right in the beginning. I was like, where could this possibly go? Kind of over right now just romance books that's all they have to this story. Like, obviously they have their separate lives in every book, but it's like some of them is just so surfacey and 2-dimensional. But there was just so much more to the story for this. I love the manuscript. I love the quotes in this. It's so quotable that I actually bought the book in a physical copy so that I could highlight it. Just loved it. I loved it. So even though it was split in my book club, I highly recommend it. Please give it a shot. It definitely deals with trauma, grief, and healing. But those are all the questions to the book recommendations tag. I thought this was so fun. So let me know if you found any books that you're gonna add to your TBR list. My bad if you're already at like 400 books and this just bumped you up to 420. Want more book recs, or if you just want to see what I'm reading in real time, I will link my Goodreads down below. I'll link my book guides. Follow me on Book Talk. I've got all the links in the description box at all times. Thank you again to IT Cosmetics for partnering with me on this video. Go check out their makeup and their skincare, you guys. They're incredible. And I hope you guys have a fabulous day, and I will see you in my next video. Mwah!